Welcome to part 3 of Psychology and Prayer. I have so much to say about this topic. Um, Today we'll talk about Kavvanah for a little bit, even though obviously it is a very deep topic. Now, most of us are taught prayer academically because it's a subject we learn in school. The problem is that prayer is not an academic subject. So, how do they test us? How do they make sure that we know how to pray? They test us on the meaning of the words or the halachas of tefillah. Um, this obviously is not prayer. I'm sorry to say, folks, that knowing the meaning of what you're davening, of what you're praying, is not kavana. It's just not. It's a good thing. It's actually a good thing to know what you're praying, but it's not kavana. Somebody very close to me has an excellent facility in language, and this person not only can translate off the cuff any part of davening, even the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur piyutim, slichas, kinnas. This person is pretty much able to, if you read him a sentence, can tell you the meaning. And he will tell you also that that is not kavana. So what's kavana? Kavana is doing what davening is supposed to be, which is a process of contemplation, of meditation, of attachment to Hashem. Now, folks, this is so much bigger than you're taught to appreciate, because again, davening has become an academic subject. Let's just talk about a couple of things. There's so much to say. You know, the Gemara in Brachas on Daf Lamed Beis talks about the Hasidim Harishonim, the early pietists. This obviously was a group separate from the Chaverim. The Chaverim were Talmidei Chachamim who took upon themselves, it was like a special society, took upon themselves extra stringencies. For example, they eat chulin al taras hakodesh, which means that they kept the laws of Tumah and Tara even if they weren't Kohanim. But the Hasidim Rishonim were a group of pietists that were even beyond that. And they described that these Hasidim Rishonim, they would pause for a sha'ah, which sometimes means a moment, but here it means a full hour. From the context of the Gemara, you could see they would pause for a full hour before they prayed Shemona Esrei. They would pray Shemona Esrei for an hour, and then they would take another hour to come down from Shemona Esrei. And the Gemara would say that comes to 9 hours a day. How do they have any time to learn or take care of their tzrachim, take care of their needs? And the Gemara says they had siyata d'shmaya because of their prayers, which is something that's really important, because you don't get siyata d'shmaya without being attached to Hashem. And the greater your attachment to Hashem is, as the Rambam in the Moreh Nevuchim spells out in much greater detail in chapter 52, part 3, the more you're attached to Hashem, the more you could achieve special divine guidance, even Ruach HaKodesh. Now, it's brought down in halacha. It's brought down halacha in Siman Tzaddik Gimel and Shulchan Aruch that you're supposed to pause. He's not talking about an hour. You're supposed to pause before you start Shemona Esrei. What are you doing? What were these Hasidim Rishonim doing for an hour before and an hour afterwards? And this is really important because we're taught sometimes such a simplistic view of what's going on in Yiddishkeit, and it's hiding in plain sight. You can't spend an hour just saying Tehillim. I mean, you could, but that's not what they were doing. Otherwise, it would say they said Tehillim for an hour. They were spending an hour meditating. They were spending an hour in some type of special contemplative state, which we have to talk about more in coming lectures, what that means and how to do it. But on some simple level, they were doing their best to clear their minds, to notice the world around them, to find Hashem in the things in the world, as the Rambam talks about in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, to find wonder to find wonder in contemplating those things. And when they reached a sufficient level, they let go and they started to pray. Now, I'm not telling you that you should spend an hour of meditation before your davening and an hour afterwards. But we need to understand that Kavvanah is about a contemplative state. It's not Pirush Milos. I think I said that already. You might want to use Pirush Milos. Like, for example, an amazing, incredible meditation before davening is the Adon Olam. The Adon Olam, much neglected, rushed through at the end of davening, said by little children, well-meaning people want to get children involved in prayer. You know, the famous refrain in a lot of shuls is, keep your talesim on until after Adon Olam, said while folding talises. Adon Olam is a magnificent, magnificent meditation on God and your place with God. And if you want to learn what something means, I would recommend that you do that. Learn what Adon Olam means. And before you start davening, say each word really slowly with your eyes closed. We'll talk more in the future about eyes closed. But you cannot be distracted. Keep your eyes closed and say every word of Adon Olam slowly and contemplate its meaning. And you will go somewhere very special. Let me just end with this, and there's more to say in our coming talks. But in Tzadi Ches, in Simon Tzadi Ches in 98, in Shulchan Aruch, Rav Yosef Karo tells us that the sages were able to achieve nevuah. They were able to achieve prophecy through Shmoneh Esrei. And don't think this is just an academic discussion. This is coming from Rav Yosef Karo, who lived in the 15th century, and he wrote an entire Sefer, Magen Misharim, about his experiences learning Torah with a Magid. A Magid is an apparition. It's an angelic type figure that comes to you. And Rav Yosef Karo has a diary of his encounters with his Magid. We're taught to think that greatness is some abstract thing that's for some kind of Gedolim stories that never really happens or happened a long, long time ago. I got news for you. Certainly Ruach HaKodesh, and especially appearances by Eliyahu Hanavi, has not stopped. It's not advertised, obviously, but it has not stopped. There's nothing in the Gemara that says that it stopped. Nevuah stopped, but not Eliyahu Hanavi, not Ruach HaKodesh, and it is up to you what you make of your davening. It's up to you how far you go. But what Rav Yosef Karo was telling you, and the man didn't live 2,000 years ago, he's telling you that through Shmoneh Esrei you could achieve prophecy. We have to talk more about what this means and how to do it. But now is the time. Now is a special time. We're not tied down by many distractions, and we don't have to keep pace with a minion or hear somebody mindlessly run through an extra kapitel Tehillim. We are on our own with God. It's up to us.